I'll tell you how I went from being an average or even below average student to being the top of my entire grade to being an elite student. Let's start with the story. The story starts in January 2024. I'm still a loser kid. I watch anime, I play video games, I do things like just going out, roaming around, and I do not study at all. Now, at that time, I'm getting into the content of self improvement, like watching channels like Far From Weak or Hamza and things like that, and they are actually helping me. Like, I have this motivation to study, I should study, but I'm not doing it. It's like procrastination. I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. So, one day I decided that I gotta do this. No matter what, I gotta do this. So, I opened my book. It was an history book and it was about the French Revolution. I opened it and started reading it. As I started reading it, I realized that I was understanding the concepts. It was not like I needed a teacher, I needed a coaching, tuition, or things like that. I could understand it on my own as I was reading it myself. Then I realized that there's no secret of actually studying. You just open the book and you just read the topics. Like, that's literally what studying is. Now, if we go by the book definition, studying is retaining knowledge, okay? But if you look at it from a practical point of view, what is studying? Studying is literally just opening a book, reading it, understanding the concept, then applying them, right? And that's what I want you to have. You want to have the belief that studying is nothing difficult. It is kind of difficult, but you do not have to believe that, right? We'll start with the first thing. Many people say that I read the thing, but I do not understand. To that, I ask, do you actually understand it while reading? Like, let's say, we have a sentence, mitochondria is the powerhouse of cell, okay? So, many people might just read it and just think, okay, yes, whatever, mitochondria is the powerhouse. But, someone who is actually understanding it might question, why is mitochondria the powerhouse of cell? What does powerhouse of cell even mean? Is it that it allows the cell to move, it allows the cell to generate electricity, power, or what? Like, what is the powerhouse of cell? And if you have this kind of mindset, questioning everything that you don't understand, then you are already ahead of 99% of people. So the first step that you need is to start reading, because that puts you ahead of many people. Second step that you need is to, even after you have started reading, you have to understand the concept. Like, these are the two things that will make you so good in studying that you'll feel that it's illegal or wrong to be so good. Like, I went from a 76% to a literal 86% in just 1 month. Like, can you imagine? Just 1 month of growth led me to 10% of progress, right? Now, let's move on to another part. I am not a teacher, right? I am not a teacher. You can say that I am a teenager. I am 16-year-old. So I am not a teacher. I am not a philosopher. I am not a scientist. I am just a kid. I am just a student, just like you are. And I tried everything that was on the internet. I tried the 80-20 rule. I tried Pomodoro techniques. I tried the efficiency rules. I tried 3 hours to 1 hour rules and things like that. But nothing worked. Like, it was like I tried it, but I was trying to find a shortcut for it. Like, if I do the 3-hour work in 1 hour, then I'll be free for the another 2 hours. This is a shortcut. But it did not work for me. Like, honestly, whatever I tried, nothing worked for me. Then, at the end, I realized there is no shortcut to studying. Like, literally, I am a person who tried every method that you can think of. And I can tell you, there is no shortcut to studying, nothing at all. Studying just means retaining knowledge and to use that knowledge. And that means to read a book. Like, you have a book, okay? Maybe it's this thick, or whatever. You have a book. Your aim is to understand most parts of it. And if you can understand that, then you are literally ahead of many people who do not even understand this basic concept about studying, right? Let's take an example. You are reading about French Revolution. Can the teacher or can the examiner ask you about Russian Revolution, American Revolution, Indian Revolution? Of course not. Like, if it is outside the book, no one can ask you that thing, right? So my thing is that you have to read the book, because all the things would be from the book. If it is not from the book, then the question is wrong itself, not your studying. Now, let's move on to another thing. The another thing is to create a timetable. You have to create a timetable. The first step to create a timetable is realizing that the timetable does not have to be something like you have to make an hour by hour log of what you're doing, how you're doing it, but rather it has to be what you will do that day. It can be called a day plan or timetable, but I like to call it as a timetable, right? So, for example, we have 5 chapters and 10 days, like 10 days later is our exam. Okay? So, you have 5 days first for revision. Like, we are assuming that you have not done anything in these chapters. For the first day, you do the first chapter. If the first chapter is small enough, then you can obviously do it in one day, right? Now, in the second day, you do the second chapter, then third chapter, and so on, till in the 5th day, you have completed all the things that you had to do. Now, after you have did all this, what is left? The left thing is revision. But before that, we got to understand this. Creating a timetable. A timetable is not here something that you have to give an hour by hour log of what you are doing, how you are doing. But rather, it is what you actually do in the whole day. Not when you do, but what you do. For example, you have 10 days to complete, let's say 5 chapters for which you have an exam. Okay, this is a simple thing and you can do it. What would many people do? They would spend the first day for the first chapter, second day, second chapter, and so on, right? But this approach is kind of weird if you think about it, because every day you have to think what you will exactly do. You do not know what you will do, but rather you have to think, you have to proceed that, like you have to process what you will actually do. For the first day you have to think, I'll do the first chapter, second day, second chapter. What's the better approach? On the first day, you create a timetable. Like you do nothing of the work, but rather what you will actually do in the 9 days remaining. You think like tomorrow I'll do the first chapter, then I'll do the second chapter, and so on. And at that time you will realize that maybe the third chapter is kind of short, so I can include it in the day with the 4th chapter. Or maybe the 5th chapter is kind of long, so I can give it 2 independent days. If you do that, then your future self would not have to think about what it has to do. He can just follow the timetable that you made yourself, right? So you have to do one thing first, create a timetable, then follow it. Now, in following a timetable, many people just think that if it is 10 p.m. or 12 p.m., then that's the end of the day and you can just sleep. But that's not true. In creating a timetable, if you have not completed the work for the day, you cannot sleep. That's the simple thing that I use. Like, okay, if you want to fail, if you want to have this mindset of I want to study but I cannot, like this continuing mindset that you have right now, then you can surely approach it in your own way. But if you have to get better marks, which I did, then you have to follow what I'm saying, right? You have to understand that you cannot sleep before you complete the day's task. Your past self has already thought about how long it will take to complete that task, or how much time you have to consume to open the book, read the chapter, and understand the meanings and things like that, right? So you cannot sleep. Like you'll wake up, you'll start studying, and then after you're done, then you're free to do whatever you want. You can go to bed, you can play video games, whatever. But what usually happens is, you'll realize that after you have done, you will not have the energy to do it, because of course, 1 chapter per day is very difficult, right? Now, if you do it so on and on and on, then after the 5th day, your 5th chapter is completed. Now, what do you do for the remaining 5 days? Many people would just goof around and just play around and so on. But what I want you to do is, you have to do a second round of repetition. You have to do for the first round as the round of understanding. Like you have to understand what's there in the chapter, like what the chapter is actually trying to say. In the second round, you have to understand the concepts that you learned earlier. Like you have to remember them. So you'll realize that in the second round, things become a lot easier, because now you know what's in the chapter, what the chapter is trying to say, what is actually there. But earlier you did not even know. For example, French Revolution. Earlier you did not know what French Revolution was. It was just a term for you. But now you understand its history, its significance. But you might not remember everything related to French Revolution. But in the second round, when you start doing it, you'll already know that what is there to learn about it, so you can understand it better. And this round will be for revision and remembering the things. Now the third round that I'll say would be for revision, like the final exam revision. This round will focus completely on you just completing the part that was required of you. For example, after you completed the second round and let's say 2 days are remaining. For the first day, you can do all the things like completing all 5 chapters revision, or you can do it in the 2 days, like 3 chapters in the first day, 2 chapters in the second day. That's your choice. Because for me, I realized that practice papers, sample papers, these things do not matter much. They are like just random things that people might do, and it may help in subjects like maths, physics, but not in things like history, geography, social science, or chemistry. I personally believe that, and if I have got a better score than you, then you can think that I know what I'm talking about, right? And as I told you all this, if you want to learn more from me, and you want to understand what I actually did, what my journey was, and what mistakes I made, and if you want to avoid those mistakes, then you can join my program. The link is in the description, and I'm currently making it, so it's a pre-sale. And if you join it right now, then you can have it for a lot cheaper than you will have after the prices increase, because when I'm done making it, the prices will increase to $99. So if you can, then join it right now for your exclusive studying and to increase the efficiency of your studies. Now, let's move on to another thing, doubts. This is a topic that requires a whole video in itself, and maybe my next video will be on doubts. The thing is, you cannot simply understand everything just by reading it again and again, right? You can maybe understand it slightly, 80%, 70%, but not fully. What you need is questions. You have to make questions out of the things you are reading. Even if you do not have any questions, just make questions out of your mind. For example, we have a simple statement. Louis XVI was the emperor during the French Revolution. Okay, make questions out of your mind. Why was he the emperor? What was the French Revolution, and so on. Like, these questions can be anything, and you'll realize that your mind will slowly start making questions on itself, right? And then ask these questions to your teachers, to AI, to your phone, to internet, and try to answer those questions. If you can, then I can assure you, then that you will understand the chapter in its entirety, right? Now, let's move on to the final part of this video. Many people might say that this thing does not work for me, or I am doing something else and that works for me. For that, I have to say that I already have tried a lot of things, Pomodoro technique, 80-20 rule, and various other rules that I do not even fully remember. I tried them all, but nothing worked for me. And at the end, the conclusion that I reached was studying has no shortcut. Like people can say that this is an efficient way, that is an efficient way, but there is no shortcut to studying at all. Studying is just a thing of reading something and understanding it. If you understand that, and you just get obsessed with studying, with your book, with your pencil, with your pen, then you'll actually understand that it is actually fun. It is not that boring. History is not boring. Maths is not boring. But it's actually fun. And if you can understand that, then you're already ahead of 99% of people who are not even trying. Just try reading it. Instead of focusing on these techniques, just try reading it. And as you read, as you ask doubts, as you talk about it to other people, you'll understand that it's way more fun than you thought. For example, Avogadro's rule. You might think that it's fucking boring, like what is it, like mole and everything. But if you talk about it to your chemistry teacher, or to ChatGPT, let's say, or to your best friend, then you'll realize that it's actually pretty remarkable how people thought about that rule. Like, if you understand its history, its significance, how it actually came up, then you'll understand how important that rule is, and you'll actually start loving chemistry, and for that matter, any subject. So my advice was this. First, recognize that you have to study and there is no shortcut. Second, create a timetable for yourself, because without a timetable, you are basically a blind person who does not even know where to go. Of course, no disrespect to blind people. Third, follow that timetable diligently. Fourth, if you cannot follow the timetable, then create a new timetable for which you can do. Okay. Fifth thing is to ask doubts. And if you can follow these 5 things, then I can guarantee that you will have a much higher score than you previously had. See, you tried everything that you knew and you got the score whatever you got, right? Now, just for once, try what I am saying. And if you do not get a higher score, then just dislike my video, unsubscribe or whatever. But if you get a higher score, then you'll understand what I'm trying to say. And after a few months of doing this thing, you'll start to realize that what I'm saying is absolutely the truth. There is no shortcut to studying. Okay? You can consider my program if you want to have higher efficiency in studying and have a better score. I'll see you later. Have a great day. Work like a dog, live like a lion.